Welcome. Song breakdown number 3, The Cult, She Sells Sanctuary. Great tune and a great title. Killer line, I always wish I'd thought of it. So we've got Ian Astbury on the vocals, Billy Duffy on guitar, James Alex Stewart on the bass, and Nigel Preston on the drums. Now, for me, the thing that always comes to mind with The Cult, I feel like they were one of those bands that perfectly bridged the gap between what we used to call alternative rock back in the 80s and just straight up hard rock. This tune, of course, is taken from the Love album. Before this, back in the early days of the band, many of you will know, the group was known as Southern Death Cult, and it definitely leaned more to the alternative side. After this, they took a hard turn into, honestly, straight up in-your-face hard rock. I remember hearing some of the stuff from the Electric album, which was the follow-up to this, and thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds like AC/DC. It was kind of a shock, and I loved it. It really worked. But for me, this is peak Cult right here. And this tune in particular, She Sells Sanctuary, I think is by far their finest achievement. Now, one of the main themes I want to explore in this video, this is literally a 3-chord song. We all hear that phrase, 3-chord rock, a lot, often said in a derogatory way. Not so with this. These guys really make it work. And being a musician most of my life, I'm kind of embarrassed that I never noticed it before. All of these years, it wasn't until preparing for this video that I realized 3 chords. We get D, C, and G, and that's it. So we'll figure out what makes this song tick, and let's get into it. Wow, what an intro. We get that nice clean guitar, a little bit of flange or phase on there, sort of draws you in slowly. And then, can I just say, that snare drum hit that comes in, has there ever been a thicker, fatter sounding snare than that? I don't think so. Maybe equaled, never surpassed. That thing is like a kick to the chest that lets you know something cool is about to happen. And I suppose the guy we have to thank for that is the producer, a guy called Steve Brown, English producer, who also worked with Wham, of all things. Sadly died a few years ago in his early 60s, earlier mid-60s, I believe. What a shame. But what a legacy. Wow, say his name, Steve Brown. Great work here. Another great production element I should mention, I love that fat acoustic guitar that comes in at the completion of the riff. What a great accent that just really adds a lot. The other thing that strikes me watching this intro, Ian Astbury, what a great frontman. Have you noticed his moves in the beginning? Very much footwork, not a whole lot of upper body, sort of Riverdance. I swear as I watch it, I just keep thinking of Riverdance, but in a cool way. And that's the thing that a great frontman has, the ability to pull off something that you or I would look like fools trying to do. But not only does he pull it off, he looks cool as hell. So hats off to Ian Astbury. So let's talk about that great riff that's really the key to the tune. It employs a couple of cool musical devices. Number one, something called a pedal tone, P-E-D-A-L, pedal tone. And a pedal tone is simply a sustained bass that remains constant underneath a melody that's moving around above it. Right, so in this tune, the fourth string open, he's hitting that pretty much every time as he plays the melodic part on the third string up above. So we get this. Sounds so great. Can you imagine? Let me show you the difference if I was just to play just the melody. Yeah, okay, not so good. And then just adding that drone. It sounds exotic, right? When you think of pedal tones, think of a sitar in Indian music, right? There's that drone constantly going. Even a bagpipe, right, has that low drone going. And it sounds so much more exotic and full and just amazing when you do that. So that's number one. And the next big element I want to discuss, this killer guitar riff, this whole tune really, are in D Mixolydian mode. We would say that D Mixolydian mode is the fifth mode of G major. Some of you will know that a mode is simply where you take some scale, start from a note other than the root, and play to the octave of that note. Here's my G major scale. Now, what's the fifth note of that scale? G, A, B, C, D. So there we have it. D Mixolydian is the fifth mode of G major. And here's what we get when we start from that D note, playing all the notes of the G major scale, but starting on D and then ending on D. Whole different sound, right? Doesn't sound like a major scale anymore. It starts off like a major scale, but then the seventh note, we end up getting what we call a flatted seventh. That seventh note is a half step lower than what we would get in a major scale. And that one note is enough to make all the difference. You get this whole different mood in Mixolydian. And you can hear this so clearly in the main riff to the song. Right there. There's the C natural. That's how we know that we're in D Mixolydian mode. Check this out. Let me play the riff in D major. I'm going to play now C sharp, where I played C just now. Listen. Okay, that's not really cutting it. Very important difference there. One little note. Mixolydian mode is very common in rock and blues. Think Doors, LA Woman, first tune right off the top of my head. There's jillions of them. Used to great effect here. So let's let Ian do his vocal thing now. First verse. Okay, first thing I want to mention is Asbury's enunciation, or should I say lack thereof. Really hard to make out what he's singing here, and there's a long history in rock and roll of that, poor enunciation. Now, if you're an opera singer, you're never going to get by with that, but in rock and roll, I think it can be very cool and effective. Probably going back to Louie Louie, right? I mean, talk about nobody knew what the guy was saying. There's still to this day speculation that it's completely obscene. Who knows? But Michael Stipe is another one. Early REM, he was notorious for being a mumbler and nobody could make out what he was singing. Everybody had their own ideas. And it's a funny thing, but in rock and roll, pop music, whatever, I think it can be kind of effective. It's kind of cool. It lends a little mystery. Robert Plant, another one, just came to mind. But looking online, I just don't know. I don't know if I agree with what I'm seeing. Now, for years, going back to the 80s, my friends and I always thought it was, the opening line was, "Will the Texas sun make my back burn?" Looking online, I'm seeing a lot of, "Oh, the heads that turn make my back burn." Now, here's a case where I think that's phenomenal. I love that. I love that even better than Texas Sun, which I liked a lot. "Oh, the heads that turn make my back burn." That seems to me like, wow, maybe as the band was becoming more popular, maybe Ian wasn't totally comfortable with the spotlight, being in the public eye. Almost reminds me of, "Oh, your ears must be burning because people are talking about you." So that's really cool. That's an awesome line that I like better than what I thought. Now, I'm still not convinced that Texas Sun isn't in there. I noticed some of the lyric sites give it as, "Oh, the heads that turn make my back burn." Second half of the verse, "and the Texas sun make my back burn." That's what I'm going with. That, listening back now and knowing what I know, it sounds to me like he trades it off there. Heads that turn followed by Texas sun, which is really cool. Now, the other one that I'm not 100% about, what I guess you would call the chorus. It's funny, this song doesn't really have a traditional chorus. "And the world drags me down" was what I always heard and still hear. "The world drags me down." I'm looking at "and the world turns around" here on this lyric site. And here again, they have it as switching up. They have "the world turns around," "the world drags me down," and I'm listening and I don't know. Either way, that's a case where they're both cool. I always heard world drags me down, and I really like that. To me, the whole point of that line is, "The world drags me down. It's tough out there. She sells sanctuary." This woman here is his respite from the perils of the world and the trials and the tribulations. So I thought that was a brilliant line. But anyway, maybe some of you can let me know what you think, but that's more or less what I could piece together. I love the way he keeps playing with the main riff, the little Mixolydian riff. Just variations on the main riff. Very cool. Now, I also want to talk about the bass. James Alex Stewart, the bass player here, the original bass player, apparently since retired. This is a great example of how simplicity can be everything. I don't want to hear Chris Squire going off in this song. I want to hear steady eighth notes pumping through, and that's pretty much what we get. Ask Cliff Williams from AC/DC, who made a brilliant career on eighth notes. So, and I love this. As we mentioned, 3-chord song, D-C-G. And for the most part, he's pumping out D-C-G, mostly eighth notes. During the riff and whatnot. But I've noticed, and it's subtle, but it's huge. During the verses, he tends to go first to a B and then to the G. Listen. Now, say, so what? I'm telling you, that's huge. Little things like that add up, and it works on you whether you know it or not. There's this subtle tension when the bass is on the third, and then when he finally lands on that root note, it's phenomenal. I'm telling you, do not discount those little things. So I love it. Also, need to mention that last section, another great example of the enunciation thing that I was talking about with Ian. I love the way when it's, and the world drags me down. I love the way he kind of spits those words out, almost like he started late, and the world, very cool, very affecting. Somebody else might have said, oh, that sounds awkward, I'm going to re-record that. No, I find myself waiting for that every time I hear this song. Now, I dig what they do next. We get a nice little breakdown, just a few seconds, nice and quiet, gives you time to catch your breath. And then the next thing you know, you're going to hear that kick and snare again that sounds like the hammer of the gods. And we're off and running into the coda. Really nice the way they go out, the way they came in with a whisper. Very cool book ending there. And again, I have to praise Duffy on the guitar for his constant inventiveness with that riff. He keeps throwing variations at us. You don't really think about it. Right? That's new. We haven't heard that up until just now. A little more aggressive going into the coda. Really, really effective. So to sum up, I'm going to get back to the question that I posed in the beginning. How do you make 3 chords work? Well, this won't be an exhaustive list, but we've definitely hit some high points. Number 1, the production. Can't be denied on this. This song would never have the impact without it. The drums, the bass, the contrast between light and heavy, all of these things work together for the impact. The riff has come up a couple of times already. Every classic rock song, and I would include this in that genre, has to have the killer riff, and this one's got it in spades. And again, it's really not just one riff. There's all those little inventions going on to keep it interesting. Then you've got Ian. Great vocal, very committed vocal. Pun intended here, he absolutely sells it. You believe him. And that's important. And when you're watching the video, just his abilities as a frontman really captivates. Huge. And overall, I think it's just the groove. This song has an undeniable groove. The groove catches you, and then all those little variations just make it flow perfectly. And I've listened to this song many times making this video, and I can tell you I'm not tired of it yet. I could sit down and crank this up right now and love it. So that's a testament to its greatness. All right, that's about it for now. As usual, thanks. I'm having a blast making these. Let me know if there's something you want to see. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, blah, 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 blah. And we'll see you again.